Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Certified Forgotten. This is your first time listening to Certified Forgotten. Thank you so much. We appreciate you checking in. The cadence is every week we alternate between an episode with a guest that's about an hour long, where we talk about a film with 10 or fewer reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and then every other week we talk about a new release, something that strikes the fancy of myself or my co-host Matt Donato, and we get you in and out in 30 minutes. It's quick. It's not pop culture happy hour quick, but it's pretty fucking close. It's pretty close, Matt Donato.
It is, and I just want to confirm one thing. We are the internet's favorite podcast with our theme, and also my mom's favorite podcast with our theme. I don't want to let that go, you know?
Matt, can I ask what other podcasts your mom listens to?
Zero. And I'm actually
great.
very, very surprised that she listens to ours, but she always makes nice comments. So thanks, Mom.
Awesome. Well, here's what we're going to do. Matt's mom, thank you for listening. We will make sure to pepper in more salacious gossip about Matt's personal life, so you feel like you're getting what you really came for, which is understanding how his professional career is going, how his romantic life is going, how his plans for the future are going. We'll just every now and then we'll dally a little bit into those territories.
She would actually love that. Like, legitimately, that would make her day. So yeah, pepper in all that goss you want.
Awesome. All right, great. Then the new sponsorship in our tier we'll call it the Matt's Mom tier, and it will just talk about what's going on in your life. But let's talk about something that's going on in both of our lives. Smooth segue. And that is the release of VHS Beyond, which, if you're listening to this on Friday, October 4th, that is out today. It is now available for streaming on Shudder, and we've seen it, and we want to talk about it. Donato, you saw this at Fantastic Fest this year. I caught a screener just earlier today. It's fresh in both of our minds. There's not really a synopsis that we can do because it's an anthology film, and there's 6 different shorts for us to talk about. So let's talk about the VHS series as a whole. You have seen all of them. I saw the first 2, VHS and VHS 2, and then I skipped apparently 5. I didn't realize there was that many of them. And I'm coming back in right now at VHS Beyond. I imagine anyone who's listening is a fan of the VHS series or has watched a bunch of them, but have they maintained consistently their quality over the years? Are they still a series like any other anthology book or any other anthology movie that you're going to want to watch and walk away with at least 1 or 2 shorts that you really love?
Consistency is I don't want to say strange word, but it's a harder word to use with the VHS franchise because, you know, where it started was kind of like this punk rock found footage anthology style. And, you know, we're talking about Joe Swanberg, Ty West, Simon Barrett, like filmmakers that we have seen grow and become bigger, but starting with VHS in a way. And like, this is how they made their indie fun. And VHS, you can see it. It's much more, I don't want to say like Faces of Death, but that kind of ilk. It's much more down and dirty, I guess to say, because even when you get to VHS 2, things get bigger. And there's no real theme in VHS 2, but it's just more found footage collection. But you have Safe Haven. You have
Which is the greatest,
right?
For my money, the greatest single horror short of all time. Safe Haven
Straight up
is the top of the pyramid. It's not even that close.
But anyway, so it's a bigger scope, and then you go to 3 is viral, and all of a sudden that is the viral concept. So we have stepped away from found footage as tapes in the straightforward manner, and it's about viral videos, and that's the commentary there. But then you get the jump to Shudder taking over. And after Shudder takes over, it is a toss-up of 90s and 80s aesthetics, which don't really have any connective tissue except the eras they're trying to, or this specific years, let's say. So like 85, 99, 94. And then you come to Beyond. And Beyond, to me, is the most thematically coherent and consistent of all of them, because they said, we're going to do a sci-fi feature, and it's going to be, whether or not it is straightforward sci-fi or the interpretation of sci-fi, up to the filmmakers, that is the through line. And comparatively to what has been done in the past, if you want to say there's any consistency, like, it comes in with Beyond. Like, Beyond taking its own stance and being its own thing, it doesn't really play well with the other ones, but it plays well together so nicely. So yeah, like, the long-winded way of saying, like, this is an anarchistic franchise that I adore because it doesn't want to do the same thing over and over again, and it absolutely picks a lane per movie and says, let's just try to stick with that. It's about reinvention. It's about not getting stuck in the same methods, and I think that is what made VHS so special over the years.
And you have, if you go through the list of folks that have worked in the VHS franchise, it pretty much, if you have watched a horror film by someone that you loved, a future release, a theatrical release at some point in the last decade, they've also had a short in the series, right? There's Benson and Moorhead. There's friend of the show, Tyler McIntyre. There's Chloe Acuna. In this particular one, you have Kate Siegel working with her husband, Mike Flanagan, in Stowaway, the final short in the series. You've got Justin Long and his brother Christian Long with the penultimate film in the series. This is basically a an excuse for filmmakers that are below. I think of as below a certain level. Like if you're not Steven Spielberg, right? If you're not Ridley Scott, if you're not used to working with those kind of budgets, then you've probably cycled through the VHS series. And I would argue that simultaneously, based at least on what I've seen of the series, VHS Beyond has less star power in the director's chair than previous versions have had, which is not a knock on any of these filmmakers. They've done a lot of great work over their career. They have less star power, but I like this. I think that compared only to VHS and VHS 2, I think I like this more than either of the two. Like I think maybe there are, again, Safe Haven is the highest. It's the best short in the series. It'll never be topped. But the consistency here and the quality kind of across the board between all five of the shorts and then the wraparound narrative was really strong. Like it was really good across the board.
Yeah, I'm going to come out right and say, I mean, this was hard for me to come to a snap decision on when I saw it at Fantastic Fest. And also, when you're at a festival, you get that high sometimes. So I don't like to
Yeah.
make, again, immediate judgments. But after writing my review and sitting down and thinking about it in the context of the franchise, I do think Beyond is my favorite. And that is simply because the producers have found a way to have such creative control over the filmmakers and work collaborate. Wow, that's a fucking word.
Collaboratively.
Collaboratively. That we're gonna leave that in there because that's crazy. Anyway, they collaborate in a way that works, I think, better than it has before. Because every other franchise entry, it has a low point, and it has that segment that we kind of fast forward through, and everyone's taking risks, but sometimes they just feel scattershot. Where in VHS Beyond, I don't get that. The even the wraparound is doing such a good job to keep us in the sci-fi mentality and have that done organically, which, other VHS segments barely even have a wraparound. This one takes everything into consideration. All the segments feel
Yeah.
so fluid together. Again, the consistency is everything in a horror anthology. How many have we seen, not even VHS alone, where if you don't have that through line, if you don't have that up and down kind of back and forth where we stay energetic with the film, you're dead. You're a dead horror anthology. So for me, I Beyond just it just gets it. The worst segment in Beyond to me is still mediocre, middle of the ground of any other one. Like it's crazy.
Well, let's run through them, kind of one at a time, because I want to get your kind of rapid fire reactions to each of these. And some of these we probably will like more than others. I think part of the fun will be figuring out which is our favorites between the two of us. I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about that. But skipping the wraparound, we'll save that one for the end. Let's jump in with Jordan Downey and Kevin Stewart's Stork. Now, I'm a fan of Jordan Downey. I've written probably 4 or 5 features in my life that I think are you know quality interviews, quality features that can hang with anything that anybody else has ever written about, genre films or otherwise. I did a feature back in the day for Film School Rejects where I talked to the team behind The Headhunter. I talked to Jordan Downey and his collaborators. I walked away with a lot of respect for what they do and what they bring to the table. And they're starting things off here with a bang. They're doing a police cam like alien invasion zombie type thing, and it's funny because I knew that he made one of the shorts, and the moment they showed like the Deadite style, the Sam Raimi style eyes on the creatures, I was like, oh, this is Jordan Downey, and it was, and it made me happy.
Yeah, you're gonna. I mean, listen, I love Jordan Downey too. I'm in the same camp as you. I think Jordan Downey is so deserving of that next showcase shot, like a guy like Dan Trachtenberg got with 10 Cloverfield Lane. I hold
Mhm.
them really close because they both made these shorts that put them on the map. They both showed what they can do with such a low budget, and I think Downey continues that here in VHS Beyond, where I love Stork. I think it's my favorite. I'm just gonna come out and say that again. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
come out the gate just saying it's Beyond never gets better than Stork, but it doesn't. And that's more telling of the quality of Stork than it is the rest of the segments and Beyond. But you're going to get me immediately with something that blends record, whatever you call it, the zombie outbreak film that I adore very much. But there is so much wreck in this short, and there's also so much Resident Evil, as you just said. There's
Yeah.
Raimi Deadite stuff, but specifically Resident Evil 5, you get a lot of the demonology there, and the visuals are so recognizable. It's eerie, it's fast paced, it just keeps moving forward, and then it ends with a really nice creature punch, and it does everything that I know Jordan Downey can do because it looks immaculate for however $10,000, however whatever he was given to make this short. He absolutely crushes it, and it looks 10 times the budget. I just, man, I want to see Downey get that shot, and I think Stork is just another glaring example of why he deserves it.
Yeah, I think the question for me is whether Stork cost more to make than the Headhunter. The Headhunter cost $30,000 to make. I feel like Stork cost more, which is hilarious to me that like you do a feature film and then you do a short and your short is like the more expensive one. Again, we're Jordan Downey fanboys here on the podcast. But I agree with you. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's goofy. I think it doesn't overstay its welcome, which isn't the case with all of the shorts. I think it gets out right at about the right point. And it reminds me there are elements of I found myself thinking of Baskin throughout, like police entering, like a demonic kind of thing. It understands that it needs to have kind of a goopy energy that it brings to the table, but it neither goes full throwback 80s style gore nor total nihilistic like early 2000s gore. It finds it carts its own little path between the two. And I really like that about the film. I think it's fun. I think it's quick. I think it's entertaining, and I think it's the sequencing of these shorts. I think is also the sequence is perfect. Like it is a good crowd pleaser opener short. It gets the blood pumping and it gets you down the line.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with one of the producers on the film, and the sequencing was obviously a point of, I don't want to say contention, but they had to figure it out. They're like, all right, we have
Yep.
to get this in the right format. And I'll talk about that later when we get to the end, because I will have my sequence part when we talk about Kate Siegel's. I think that's where I'm going to kind of stake my sequel claim or
Okay.
sequencing claim.
Second up in VHS Beyond is Dream Girl, directed by Virat Pal and written by Pal and Evan Dixon. It's about a pair of paparazzi that sneak into the set of a Bollywood movie and find out that the star is not what she appears. Donato, what do you think of Dream Girl?
I think this comes in middle of the pack for me. It again continues the energy of Stork. I mean, I should say, starting with Stork is obviously my favorite, and that's great. And there's a pretty steady line that decreases if we're talking about like excitement level in these segments. So I think like this Dream Girl starts that descension of energy getting towards the back end, but it's done really well, so it doesn't bother me. I don't want to say
Mm-hmm.
that as a negative. I just to say that Dream Girl starts to get you in the mode of like, all right, not everything is going to be as punchy as Stork, but this one still brings the gore. It reminds me of what Timo Tchajanto did in his prior segment, not Safe Haven, that he did with Gareth Evans. Yeah, okay. I always I always like pause because Edwards
Edwards is
Evans,
the
but yeah,
Godzilla guy. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so his solo segment he did, which is basically just a machine destroying people. Like we have like the bio soldier kind of thing, and I get a lot of that here just from the reverse perspective because we're watching sleazy paparazzi people
Yep.
running away from the creation that has gone awry. I think the AI integration loses me a little bit here. I don't think it's a fluid transition of story from where we were at the beginning of just paparazzi people trying to, you know, record some sleazy shots from a closet of an actress to the full on, oh, we've created an AI actress thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a murky transition to the final kill sequences, but an entire soundstage gets drenched in red lighting and there's a massacre. Yeah, I'm here for it. Dismemberment, all that stuff. It's fun. It's goopy. It's all those things you said before. Yeah, it's what I want from a VHS segment.
Yeah, I think Dream Girl was my least favorite of the group. But it had my favorite moment, I think, which was the dance number when they cut into the actual video, the music video that they do. The idea of you saying, "All right, I'm going to do VHS Beyond. I'm going to do a short and a horror anthology, and I'm going to drop a Bollywood musical number in the middle of an anthology film." Such a good idea, like such a good blast of energy. Really was my favorite 2 minutes, 3 minutes of the entire VHS Beyond film was when they're doing the musical number and kind of getting in and out of that moment. I think the thing that sort of sets this a little bit back for me is just the notion this falls into what I think of with some of the stuff that I didn't like in VHS and VHS 2, which is the overlong sequence of murder and mayhem, which is just doing a little bit more of that grindhouse thing with that moment that's kind of come and gone over the last 10, 15 years or so. I think it just sort of falls into that, which is like, hey, I know I'm on, I gave Asriel a bad review for Certified Forgotten. I know that I'm not the person that producers and publicists want to turn to when it comes to we're just going to like kill a bunch of people for an extended period of time. But I was having more fun with the first half of the short, and it just kind of it sticks around a bit longer than I wanted it to, and that's totally fine. I will probably find ways to go listen to that musical number on Spotify and be very happy with it.
Yeah, I do want to double down on that and say fitting a not just a Bollywood musical number, but a good Bollywood
Yes.
musical number into a VHS segment is was not on my bingo card. No, definitely was not. And it is fun to hear you talk about this segment because I'm totally the opposite. I think it takes a little too long to get where it's going. And while I don't love the storytelling turn, as I just said, I think the momentum pickup of that kill sequence in the back end gives me that first person perspective of being lost in the kill sequence itself. Like your perspective is looking at things as the chaos goes down. So I'm really enamored by that kind of first person slaughterhouse vibe, I guess to say.
Yeah, that's not exactly surprising that we're on opposite ends of that one. Next up in VHS Beyond is Live and Let Dive, directed by Justin Martinez, formerly of Radio Silence, and written by Ben Turner and Justin Martinez. It's about a group of friends going skydiving when things go totally, totally wrong. This was my favorite short in VHS Beyond because I think that this is the one that sort of leans the most into and the most away from the first person perspective, right? It is the one that really like treats it the most like a first person shooter, which typically, as we saw with what's the
Hardcore Henry.
Hardcore Henry. Thank you. I was going to get it in a second. I was like, can't remember the name of it. Hardcore Henry. I think is a mistake because I don't think that kind of storytelling can sustain itself over 90 minutes. I know not everyone's going to agree with me, but for me, I was like, this is not. You can't keep this going for as long as you do. But I think this one has a killer couple of set pieces. I think that there are a few sequences in this short that are just brilliantly conceived with the people falling out of the sky being just like what a great fucking idea and what a great way to transition between two very sort of simple settings, which is people in a plane, people on the ground. It does a really good job of structuring the short for maximum effect. And I think that because it's not overstaying its welcome, it gets the most amount of mileage you can get out of that first person shooter type thing. It works well. It is endlessly creative. I think it is the most ambitious of what is included in VHS Beyond. I mean ambitious in the sense that it does stuff it doesn't have the budget for. So it doesn't always look as good. It doesn't try and hide stuff the way some of them do. We'll talk about Stowaway in a minute, where, making smart decisions about not showing what you can't show. I think that Live and Let Dive tries to show a lot of that stuff and it doesn't always work, but I really love the energy that Martinez brings to the short.
Yeah, this is my second favorite. I'm right there with you. Stork edges it out for me, but I really dig, and this is coming from someone who will never go skydiving, and I don't really love heights,
Yeah.
outside of flying and stuff like that. The Rock movie Skyscraper gave me vertigo at points of just having that like fear kick in. But I was watching Live and Let Dive with excitement the whole time, like the adrenaline rush of falling out of the airplane and having that be a prominent set piece in a short is, again, what you just said, ambitious, but also like the technical aspects of it and the kill sequences that are happening in midair. I am just sitting there going, what the fuck is actually happening here? Like this is what you want to do in a VHS segment. You just take a swing that is so crazy and figure out how to make it work. And I think Martinez does that really well. And not only that, but like he keeps it fun as he hits the ground too, because when you think about it, you're all of 60 seconds falling from the sky and when you go skydiving. So that doesn't make an entire short. So like there has to be a chase sequence on the bottom,
Yeah.
and what he delivers through practical kill sequences, like amazing. Like the way people's heads are exploding and like the gore that we see, it looks so good. And again, talking about a budget and talking about what people are able to achieve with just fucking spit, glue, and gumption versus what I see in mainstream horror movies that can't keep up and use CGI to do way worse kill scenes. I'm just enamored by that. And, also I've seen a movie called Altitude that tries to do horror in the sky. And it's about a monster that is basically chasing a plane and it keeps like toying with the plane as it's moving. And it fails because it leaves it in the air so long. So I love how Martinez figures out the fun about this is not being stuck in the sky. It's about falling out and what happens in between and making the front end and the back end just work so well in between that plummet down. So I'm all in on Live and Let Dive. I think it's great. Again, it'd be my favorite if Stork wasn't there.
Yeah, and I think that Martinez gets the 90s promise of aliens the most right out of everybody. The representation, how people present the alien component of VHS Beyond in each of the shorts, I think is actually interesting. That is a through line through most of them, not all of them, but it is a through line through most of them. And I think that Martinez clearly goes for the late 90s Independence Day style monsters, creature feature type thing, and that's great. Like I really love having one of those in the mix as well.
Yeah, because I mean they're interpreting sci-fi even, beyond
Hmm.
Alien. And as we talk about the next segment, there's one interpretation of sci-fi that I was like, huh?
Yeah, there is Fur Babies, which is directed and written by Christian Long and Justin Long. It is about animal rights activists that sneak into the house of a taxidermist. Um, Well, I'll say this: Justin Long is not afraid of getting labeled the weird horror guy, right? Like this is, God bless him. He is absolutely content to spend the rest of his career. He's morphed into Elijah Wood in the middle of his career, and I think there's something charming about that. But I didn't really love Fur Babies.
No, I'm there with you. I mean, he made Tusk. Like
Yeah, he did. He absolutely did.
he made Tusk with a doggy daycare scenario. And here's the thing. I think there is fun to be had in that setup segment, or sorry, not segment, but the setup to the segment's climax, let's say. And when you are stuck with a crazy dog mom who is giving peak like Karen kind of vibes as she does her little
Yeah.
YouTube marketing videos. I really like some of those beats. I think
Hmm.
there is some awkward, uncanny comedy in there. But again, you're Justin Long, and we all know you're in Tusk, and I like Tusk a great deal. Don't get me wrong, but the ambition side of that, what are we doing outside the box here? You're doing the same thing of turning people into animals. And is there some quality that endeared me about Gary just clawing the shit out of one of the victims and mutilating them? Yes. I mean, this is about animal rights activists that try to sneak into a woman's doggy daycare and find out that she is turning people into dogs. That is what this is. And there is some brutality shoved in there. I again call out gore as being some of the same, and I actually think the ending shot is hilarious. I think it ends better than it starts, but it's just a real slow start for me, so that just kind of kills my momentum a little bit there.
Yeah, I do want to shout out. I believe the actress's name is Libby Letlow,
Yeah,
who
yeah, yeah.
plays the main character in the Becky, who owns the doggy daycare in Fur Babies, and I think she does a really great job with the character. Little bit of little bit of Kathy Bates, Dirty Bird kind of vibe that she's bringing to it, and I also think that she is the performer, the one performer in the entirety of VHS Beyond that is the most like visible in acting. A lot of the other shorts are kind of having doing a little bit of back and forth with not showing and leaning into the first person perspective, and adding a lot of like on-screen fuzz or elements that are meant to distort or age the footage that you're looking at. And Fur Babies is by far the most clean. recording. They're not doing a lot of like visual interference to make it look dated. And so for the most part, it's just the actress acting into the camera, the most conventional of all of them. And I think that that leaves her nowhere to hide. And I think that she runs with that character and does a really excellent job. So I've talked about it on the podcast before. I am less of a animal violence in movies person than I used to be. And I think that this one just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, just a smidge.
Also, it does horror comedy in a way that I didn't think you would like either.
No.
So this was 0 for 2 in the is it a monocle thing, but confirming that the horror comedy didn't really work for me, the entirety of it as well, I think is indicative of the segment quality. Again, least favorite, but I still think this is mediocre level in other entries. Like if you stuck this into any of the other ones, it's still kind of middle of the pack, and I think that is more telling of the quality in some of the other ones, let's say.
Yeah. And so let's talk about the final one in here. Stowaway, directed by directorial debut Kate Siegel, written by Mike Flanagan, a pretty talented filmmaker, I guess, a guy who can write a little bit. And it's about a woman who sets out to document the appearance of strange lights hovering above the Mojave Desert. Thank you, Wikipedia. This is interesting to me because I think that this one is the most grounded. It's not a Mike Flanagan script unless characters, have longer monologues, and we get those in the film. I think this one has the most heart. I think that it has the most substance, but I also think that it is the one that is playing the most with the conventions of the found footage and like distortion on video and et cetera. And so there's a little less visually for you to hold on to. I don't necessarily think that's an indictment of Siegel. I think that they shot it in such a way so that they could evoke big sci-fi ideas without having to show a lot of it. But I wish that it maybe tried to do a little bit less, and let the performance and the concept stand out a little bit more, because this is the one that has like characters that you can actually relate to, sink your teeth into. There's a person and a performance at the heart of this that is more three-dimensional than like of all of the ones here. This is the one that I think has more to say than a 20-minute short if they wanted to make it that way.
Yeah, 100%. This is the most straightforward interpretation of sci-fi, in my opinion, out of all the other segments. And, it's dealing with the existential. It's dealing with the unknown in a way that we're used to. It's dealing with whether, abduction or all that stuff, whether it's intended or not, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
It is what I expected most of them to look like. But I am happy this is the only one that looks like this, because it is, to me, it fits as the closer. And this is why I wanted to talk about the sequencing very quickly, because starting with Stork and ending with this one, I think it is a perfect line of momentum that is continually moving forward, but you start to slow down towards the end. And I think there's something beautiful about ending Beyond with this deeper look into the beyond.
Yes.
Like it gets everything that it's going for. And also, in my opinion, if you end it with something like Live or Let Dive, I think that would overshadow Stowaway as like a midsection one,
Yes.
because in an anthology, if you spike your excitement, go down and spike the excitement towards the end, we are remembering those excitement spikes. We aren't remembering the stuff in the middle. So I think they smashed it out of the park with how to arrange all the shorts. I think they did a great job with the theming, and also hilariously, I do like Alana Pierce's performance, and I had to make a little note in my review for IGN because she's a former games journalist who wrote for IGN for 4 years. So you'll recognize Alana Pierce if you are a video game fan or have followed journalism as well. So just some fun little tidbits all stuck in there. And is it my favorite? No, you know my sensibilities, but is it perfectly middle of the pack? And do we get some tracking fuzz over what's probably a pretty cool practical monster at the end? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely, if you said which one of these would you like to see turned into a feature length film, it's Stowaway. It's not even that close. And I don't know. I love the amount of heart that sits underneath things that Kate Siegel and Mike Flanagan do. Their collaborations together. I think she's an incredibly empathetic actress. She brings a lot of that to the direction on screen. Flanagan, of course, is a very talented writer, but I absolutely agree. I think you say this one for the last because I think that it signifies to your audience that you are more than just a series of grindhouse shorts. I think you leave them walking out with that like more expansive play that you kind of ended on, And I think that gestures to the audience that you're trying to do something that has a little bit of weight behind it, that matters a bit, and isn't just a series of people doing send ups of whatever their favorite VHS nasties were. And that's what you get when you own a Stowaway. So second favorite for me. Um, really wanted to get to know that character a lot more. Really wanted to get to know the world a little bit more. You know, somebody give them $60 million and let them go do this for real. I think that'd be fun. Shout out to Abduction. We're just about out of time, but I do want to say, like you noted in the beginning piece, it's a good wraparound. It does a good job of sort of the alien UFO elements. It's fun to see Mitch Horowitz playing a version of Mitch Horowitz on screen, and Jay Cheel does a really good job. He's done some documentaries before. I think he kind of nails the vibe of that as well.
Yeah, I love seeing the Corridor Digital guys who, if you've seen YouTube videos of effects artists
Mm-hmm.
debunking effects videos, they're in the segment. And I've seen so many faux documentary types, the mockumentary types over the years. And I mean, even at Fantastic Fest, Strange Harvest premiered, which is like the Poughkeepsie Tapes' little brother, which I'm sure we'll talk about someday. But in this wraparound, I never felt like the film lost me. We just get these little snippets of talking heads and keeping us in that conspiracy vibe. And again, seeing someone that I have watched on YouTube over and over again while I'm on the treadmill, just being like, oh, this is a fun video to watch. It keeps that authenticity alive watching a mockumentary. So I had a great time with it. I think where other wraparounds have faltered, Ab- abduction, I think it's called the two way,
Yeah,
or
both.
yeah, however it is. But it kept me in and it kept me going, and it's just the last little like cherry on the top of why this one works better than all the other ones, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. All right, that's it. That's it. VHS Beyond, now available for streaming on Shudder. It is Halloween season here at Certified Forgotten and elsewhere, which means your boy Donato is going to be running ragged doing reviews of all the big movies, small movies, and everything in between. So, Matt, if folks want to follow you on social media, if they want to see what you're working on, where do they go?
You can follow me at Donatobomb, DONATOBOMB, and that is Twitter, Letterboxd, Instagram, also on TikTok and Blue Sky. Less, but still there. And as Monagle said, I've got plenty of stuff coming up for spooky season, whether that's reviews or lists or anything else that's going to tell you what to watch, or just watch Dude, We're Party Massacre over and over again. I mean, how can you go wrong?
Pass. As for myself, you can follow me just on Blue Sky. It's monagle.bsky.social. Follow Certified Forgotten at certifiedforgotten.com. If you haven't already, subscribe to our Patreon. We have a free tier. We're making big changes. Patreon is going away. And we talk a lot about that in a video that we uploaded that's available to anybody who wants to subscribe for our Patreon and follow it and learn a little bit more about it. It doesn't cost you a dime. It just gives you some insight into the changes that are going to happen behind the scenes. So we recommend that you go do that. Otherwise, that's us. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe and leave comments because we're vain little creatures and we like to know that we're doing a good job. And yeah, we'll see you on the other side.